think we're good on the echo. I'll just double check. We are now fully live. All right, yeah, quick mic check.
Testing 1 2 1 2.
Yep, I'm good. Loud and clear. All right. Welcome everybody. Just a second. Now I've got an echo. Just stand by. Where am I echoing from? Oh, here we go. All right. Echoes are all solved. Welcome everybody to the AMA. It's May 6th, 2025. Self-help for Troll said it sounds good now. It's psychedelic before. Yeah, hopefully I think our echo is good. You guys hear an echo, just post in the webcast. I think it's good. So Mitch is in. He's traveling right now, so he couldn't make it to the AMA. The cast is stepping up to fill in, and obviously we had the LeoDex. Kind of a big day for LeoDex yesterday. So TCY went live on THORChain, and God just said, or no, you're not. Phil said no.
You're fading in and out, Cal.
Am I?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, that sounds good now.
All right. We are live streaming. I can put the. Oh, thanks, Con. Con said nice shirt. I'll put the.
It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube, isn't it? Con just showed.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Yeah, you guys can go find it on the YouTube channel. And if you're not subscribed and liking every YouTube video that we put out, please make sure to like and subscribe.
Con posted the feed right in the threadcast.
All right, cool. And I just edited the top link too, so we should be all good to go. iJat said you can hear me. All right, cool. Looks like we're good. So yesterday was the TCY launch on THORChain. That was a big moment for really everybody. It was a huge moment for LeoDex. So I was working, with the team, and really pushing them quite hard to get the, to get all the TCY features added to LeoDex, and to make sure that we were ready for a smooth launch. So, there were actually a lot of posts on X, and you guys are welcome to go find them. But there were a lot of posts on X where, people ranging from, JP, who's the founder of THORChain, to Alux and many others who said that, LeoDex was the smoothest UI for the TCY launch. So, that's huge news for us. I actually put one of those tweets in the threadcast, so you're welcome to scroll to the beginning and find it. But really big moment for us to step up and get noticed. Obviously LeoDex is, the newest UI really in the cross-chain space. And for us to get some recognition has been very difficult. So, TCY being a big moment for us, is really great. So we handled the launch as well as we could, I think. There were it definitely wasn't bug free, and it wasn't perfect, but people did say that we were the best UI. We were the first UI to allow trading of TCY. And then we were, I think, the first UI to have TCY claiming actually working. So it's been a fun experience. There are still some things that we're working on. So I've noticed, some people trying to claim TCY with like their Ledger device, for example, have still been having some issues. So we're working through those bugs and working with those people to get good feedback. So all of this feedback in general has been really good for us, to keep refining the UI and keep making it better. So we're just going to keep refining and adding new features, and very similar approach to what you guys have seen us do within Leo, which is release a MVP and then just keep iterating from there. So I've just been collecting a lot of feedback and making, as much progress as I can with the devs to keep pushing the new tech forward. And then today we are looking to launch the new Refer2Earn program. So the new referral system on LeoDex is something we've been working really hard at. It's something that nobody else has done. So there's been other referral programs, I think maybe 2 or 3, but none of them, from my testing of them and experience, obviously in the cross-chain space, they never address the real need or desire, in my opinion, which is the average user wants to earn their share of affiliate revenue. Right now, the majority of affiliate revenue flows to the interfaces. And I'm very much a give back to the user, mentality. So I, wanted to build a referral system that actually gave back to the users. So the way our referral system works is you get a unique referral code and a link. And if you share that link with someone or they enter the code manually, you get 1/3 of all their affiliate revenue from the swaps. So for example, without an affiliate, without a referral, 0.45% of a swap goes to LeoDex as the affiliate fee. With a referral, it's still 0.45% that gets charged to the user who's swapping, so it doesn't change for the actual swapping user. But 0.15%, so exactly 1/3 of the total 45 basis point fee is given to the person that referred that user. So 1/3 of the total referral reward, or 1/3 of the total affiliate reward, goes to the actual end user that referred that user, the other swapping user. So, this is a big moment, I think, for getting the average person on, Thorchain, Maya, and Chainflip to be earning affiliate fees and earning affiliate revenue. You don't really see it at scale anywhere right now. So, this is one of the first moments where we're really innovating something new for the cross-chain space in terms of front end and back end. The dashboard was a big moment too for us to build something that looks a lot like centralized exchanges, but obviously is on a decentralized exchange. And then the referral system is a big moment for us to add a lot of value to the end user. So, with what happened with TCY yesterday and LeoDex finally getting some recognition, and then today rolling out the referral program, I think we're going to be, hopefully entering an era where there's regular LeoDex users on a daily basis, where we weren't really getting that before. So we had record volume yesterday, record usage in terms of unique users and unique wallets swapping. And then, today we've done more volume today than we would normally do, but I think today is a pretty slow day relative to yesterday. So we need to keep, iterating and keep finding ways to bring people back to LeoDex. And we're still in the very early stages of this journey. So we've got a lot of work to do, both on the refining side and on the feature side. Task, I know you were following the TCY launch a little bit and following, what LeoDex did in terms of volume. What was the breakdown from your perspective?
Well, I wasn't really into it. I was just more in the observational role, if you will, because as I've mentioned a couple of times when you've been on air, I think it was once in this AMA, and then I've also brought up in a chain chatter or two that I've asked a question about building more financial services. And I think that's one of the keys, is not only to look at LeoDex as a swapping mechanism, but if we project out into the future, we can see how the thought process is there with some of these people involved with Thorchain, some of the people involved with Maya, some of the people involved with these different financial protocols of building things such as lending or collateralization, or, who knows what other DeFi services could roll out of that. And like you said in one AMA, the advantage for LeoDex is we just piggyback on it. So if they introduce some staking protocol, if they introduce some type of DeFi application, that can be integrated right into LeoDex. And I think that's where the future is, looking at LeoDex more as a full service, ultimately a full service financial system, a full service financial provider. and swapping is just the first stage. But if these protocols grow, and from the chain chatter, it sounds like there's a lot of people involved with this stuff who are looking at taking this stuff deep into the future. I mean, this could be a nice marriage between the two, and we just ride their coattails to wherever it takes us to.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. It's and in terms of what LeoDex is offering, in the long run is, the stated mission, which I came up with something that I think is a little provocative and easy to remember. And the stated mission of LeoDex is to make DEX feel like sex. So the goal is, look at centralized exchange interfaces, look at what these sexes have done, and say, okay, well, there aren't really any DEX interfaces that have really caught up to centralized exchange interfaces. So what can LeoDex take from the DEX space that is unique to it, and then merge it with the UI UX of centralized exchanges, in order to build something that's new and useful to the end user. You look at the target market of who we're going after. Right now the target market is very heavily, obviously Thorchain, Maya, and chain flip swappers. So people who are swapping, through those protocols. The core product is still swaps, right? But right now we're at a very early stage of new features being rolled out outside of just swaps. So you've got TCY, which is kind of like a DeFi asset where you can now buy it and stake it. So what you're going to see is one of the next things we're working on is a TCY dashboard. And I've pulled a lot of inspiration from Fidelity, which is a TradFi, essentially the stock exchange interface, that I use, for my, stock purposes and dividend investments, IRL. I've pulled a lot of inspiration from that, in order to build our TCY dashboard. So you're actually going to see that what we're trying to build is kind of the conglomerate of, financial services and features. Obviously, LeoDex doesn't actually build any financial services or features. We simply connect to what DEXs are building. So one thing that's really awesome about this space is that they, and when I say they, I mean all the different teams that are building, the Thorchain 9 Realms team, and then, the Ruggira team and the other teams in Thorchain. Then you've got the Maya team and the other teams, like 13 Heavens and the other builders in that space. And then you've got the chain flip team as well. So you've got all these different teams that are building these amazing financial technologies in terms of the DEX layer. And then what we're doing with LeoDex is simply building the best interface to tap into those things. So our team is really good at UI UX. We've spent 6 years building in Leo, and that is entirely UI UX. And then obviously we've had to build a lot of back-end stuff too, because, the Hive blockchain wasn't ready to handle a lot of stuff that we wanted to do, like short form content, for example. So one thing about the DEX space is we can literally just focus on UI UX, make a exchange interface that feels like you're on a centralized exchange, but it's obviously connected to the DEX layer, and we don't have to actually build any of this stuff. We just let these bigger teams build the DEX backend, and then we tap into it and make a really great UI for that. So what Task is saying is to build like a full service financial platform. That's what we can do is we can build, if you want to look at your TCY as like a dividend yielding asset, you have a TCY dashboard that looks like you're buying stock on Fidelity and looking at your dividend payments. And all we're doing is building an interface. TCY already exists. TCY staking already exists. There's people talking about building an index now. There's Kujira Index, which is obviously probably going to become Ruggira Index. But I'm talking to their team because they're working on essentially like an index token that's based on TCY that has exposure to Rune. So they're working on that, and they're asking if we want to build an interface around it. So what we can do with LeoDex is build a really great interface for what they're calling tentatively YTCY. So there's a lot of really interesting, and then you've obviously got Ruggira itself building perpetual futures. And they're also building a lot of other features as well. So we've got the potential here to simply look out at the space in terms of DEX and say, okay, well, these new features are coming, but we want to make them usable to the average person and to the people in the cross-chain space. And those are our target market. So how do we make a really good UI UX around them? And then we build it. And then, there's a very real way to monetize that. Right now with swaps, it's through affiliate fees. And then through these other products, there's going to be ways to generate revenue as well. I think perps are probably going to be one of the biggest new features to Thorchain in the near future. And I want to build a perps interface on LeoDex that literally looks like you're on Binance. But the whole backend is being run by Ruggiera on Thorchain. So a lot of huge potential here for us to just keep building really great interface around the backend that these other DEX teams are making.
Well, that's the.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that's the key, and you mentioned futures. I just hopped on Binance and looked up USDT BTC perp, 13 billion traded in the last 24 hours. 13 billion. So you're talking about all-time high on LeoDex of 400,000. I mean, you take a couple million out of the BTC USDT perp, and this is just one exchange, one trading pair, times that by all the different exchanges, all the different trading pairs. That ought to give you an idea of just the futures volume.
Yeah, the market for exchanges is massive. I mean, it's really crazy when you even just look at spot markets, but then you're looking at perps, which are even bigger. Perps are a massive market for crypto. So, I think what we can do is achieve, the best swapping interface right now. That's the current product, and then progress from there and keep building more and more layers on top. So, what I want to do is have the best swapping interface that we're capable of building. That feels like a centralized exchange essentially, and then I want to build from there the best TCY dashboard. So something that feels like you're using TradFi for like a dividend stock, but it's for TCY. And then the referral system. One thing that centralized exchanges have done really well is having amazing referral systems where people are trying to bring in their friends so that they can get a share of affiliate revenue from those exchanges like Binance. So we've kind of modeled. If you actually look at the designs that I've put out, on X, you can go find them on my X account. We've modeled that after centralized exchanges and then added our own flavor to it. So having these things brought to DEX is the goal, and I think that we're already doing a good job of that. We're obviously just in the very early stages. So it's yesterday we saw a surge in volume, a surge in people utilizing LeoDex for the first time. And we got some really good feedback already, from people in the space that said, this wallet was having some issues, whatever. And they are able to report that to us, and then we're able to fix it. So this is why I keep hammering you guys, obviously the current Leo community, use LeoDex as much as you can, even if it's for small swaps and just really any small action, like just connecting a wallet and trying a swap every once in a while. Giving us feedback is what's going to make, the Leo token succeed, because we need that feedback to ensure that when a big swapper comes in, like a whale, like what we had yesterday with TCY, that things are working flawlessly for that person. Because those whales, what they're looking for is they're not necessarily looking for the cheapest DEX. They're not necessarily looking for, anything that has a token. What they're looking for is a smooth, reliable, and trustworthy experience. So ensuring that LeoDex can give that is the key. And one of the critical lead dominoes to us giving that is you guys giving the feedback. So the team can only test so much. Like when the team, like we have a bunch of different wallets. We have we test everything very regularly. But at the end of the day, having a community of people that test and give feedback is what's going to supercharge our ability to push things forward. You guys saw this with Inleo. Like we put out a lot of technology, and then we needed you guys to help us refine it. So the same goes for LeoDex. It's just a little bit more complex at the end of the day, because we're working with financial technologies and Thorchain, Maya, and Chainflip. So we really need that feedback more than ever. Andrew said on YouTube, which by the way, they added this chat, which is really nice because now I can see what you guys say on YouTube. Andrew said, latest LeoDex and new dashboard are a giant leap forward. Looking work great. Yeah, thanks for saying that. And we're going to keep refining it. And then the referral dashboard should go live today. I don't see any reason why we won't push it live today. So hopefully you enjoy that dashboard too. And then you'll get your the way it works is actually really cool. So you go to the dashboard, the new referral page, it'll be at the top menu. And the first time you go to it, it'll ask you to create your unique referral code. So you can create anything up to 6 characters. So like, for example, Taskmaster could make one called task, and then he'll get a unique referral code created. And then he'll be able to share the link or just the code, because people can either go to the link or enter the code manually. And then anyone he refers in will become a referred user of Task. And then if they swap, say, $1 million, he'll get $1,500 in referral rewards from that, per $1 million that gets swapped using his referral code. And then also, once a referral is made, that referred user is always tied to the original person that referred them. So that's another interesting piece that I wanted to make sure we had, which is, again, from centralized exchanges, but doesn't apply to DEXs right now, at least from what I've seen, is that, let's say Task refers in 10 different users. As soon as those 10 users use his link, they go to LeoDex, they connect their wallet, and they make their first swap. Their swapping address is now forever tied to Task's referral code. So if they then don't use LeoDex for another year and then suddenly come back, Task will get that swap referral volume a year from now. So it forever ties that referral in, and I think that's a big piece of things.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a way to really build things long term and get people focused long term on just keep growing their referral list. LJATS had a question earlier. What determines the protocols that grant us and he put in quotes, by default wallet address in the LeoDex UI? Having one from the Dogecoin chain would be very handy for me. I don't know if you know what he's asking, but that's the question.
I'm trying to find the question because I'm a little. I don't know what you mean by a by default.
I don't know either.
That's from iJats. Let's see. I'll sort by author.
iJats or LJATS. I don't know which it is.
What determines the protocols that grant us by default wallet address? Having one from Dogecoin. I'm going to assume you mean a key store. A key store is what I assume you're talking about. I believe key stores have Dogecoin addresses. So you should be able to have a Dogecoin address from the key store.
Khan asked something interesting, and this may be an interesting little debate back and forth or discussion point. What happens when LeoDex starts issuing synthetic assets or stablecoin lending? Does TradFi stand a chance? I'm sure he asked that tongue in cheek, but that brings up where does one view the future of centralized versus decentralized and where it's going?
Yeah, I think, like I said, LeoDex's mission is to make the DEX functionalities that get released by these other teams feel like you're using, a SEX. And a more fundamental explanation than that is to make these things easy to use and user-friendly. That's our entire goal. So, in terms of specific features from TradFi and centralized exchanges, it's all dependent on what gets built by these DEX teams that are out there. Ruggira, the Kujira Index team, the Thorchain team, Maya team, Chainflip team. What these other teams build on kind of the back end, if you want to say, at the protocol level, kind of determines what we can build for LeoDex on the front end side of things. So, right now the mission needs to be have the, connecting a wallet and doing swaps, be flawless, because that is the core product for all of DEXs right now. It's kind of like how centralized exchanges really started out as just spot order books. So, you could go there and you could trade, Bitcoin, you could deposit Bitcoin and trade it. That's kind of how the small product that those exchanges started with, and then they expanded out from there. So really, we need to focus on the core product that's there, which is swapping right now. And then, like I said, a lot of these things are being built as we speak. And then adding those things in, that adding things as they become available and get usage, that's going to be how we progress. But I do think over time, if you look at the majority of major features for centralized exchanges, those are going to become available through decentralized exchanges like Thorchain and Maya and Chainflip. And then LeoDex is an interface for those. So I do think the majority of features that you see out there in the space are going to slowly progress to decentralized exchanges. But it's going to take time. I mean, it's not something that happens overnight. I know that order books are being worked on. I know that lending is being worked on. I know that perps are being worked on. So really for us, it's a matter of, as these things get released, make sure that we can build the best UI, refine it, add really cool features in terms of UX, and then just keep progressing along with the rest of the industry.
Which is a very interesting viewpoint, because I've been writing about my view on the future of all of this is, I don't know ultimately, but there's obviously going to be a hybrid system. And we see Wall Street entering into this full tilt. And there was a leak to Bloomberg where a lot of these platforms are expecting bull runs, and they're starting to ramp up and build their trading platforms, and then of course accumulate more crypto while before the run starts. And my view is ultimately, if you look at what Coinbase is, a centralized exchange, and JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and all of these different banks, once regulations come into place, they're going to be all over this. And they're going to be gatekeepers operating on decentralized infrastructure, because the decentralized infrastructure is so much cheaper to run at. It's so much quicker. It's much better than the Swift network, all of that stuff. The problem is you're still dealing with a centralized front end, which that ultimately is what Leo is trying to be a front end to say, come use our services. We're tied into all of this stuff too. And that's really interesting because, of course, Leo's not looking to become JP Morgan. But just yesterday alone, off that volume, I figured $1,900 divided by 1.8 cents. That's about 100,000 Leo that's going to be bought off the market. So if you look at this, to generate $100 million a year in volume, whether it's through the swapping, whether it's through some of these future services such as perpetuals and things like that, there's a 0.01 on that or whatever, percent, 1% or 0.1% or whatever you want to charge on this stuff, that all adds up. And that's really what we're looking at, if you think about it, is the ability to incorporate all this stuff from these other protocols and just have it all in-house.
Yeah, just have a really easy interface where you can come in and do all that stuff. That's really the mission here. And if we're able to do UI better than better than centralized exchanges have done it, which I think we are capable of doing, then we're going to be we're going to be bringing the best of all worlds together. So that's really the key. And like Tass said, Leo is so small right now that even the smallest amount of volume makes a massive difference for us. So it's, for example, yesterday, like we did close to $500,000 in swaps, primarily, TCY swaps, because, obviously we were ready for the launch and we worked really hard to be, kind of first in line in terms of the launch. And the amount of affiliate revenue that came in is enough to buy 100,000 Leo off the market. And obviously, if 100% of our affiliate revenue buys Leo. So that's, in terms of earnings yesterday, we earned 100,000 Leo worth of affiliate revenue, and that will get bought back over time from the market. So, imagine if every day was like that, or every day was close to that, or even half of that. We would be buying, 50,000 Leo a day, or close to 100,000 Leo a day. And what would happen to the Leo token? And then over time we're adding utility. So, one of the ideas was Leo tiers. I still am on that Leo tiers idea. But what I'm thinking, which is a little bit different, is instead of getting discounted trading fees, I'm actually thinking the Leo tiers will give you a bigger share of referral rewards. We could potentially do both, but I'm thinking more so along the lines of referral rewards, at least initially, because I want to do things that are new in the space. I don't want to just kind of keep reinventing the wheel. There's other platforms out there that have done staking tiers when you buy the platform's token and stake it. So one thing I've thought of that's a little bit unique is what if we have staking tiers that apply to the referral part of earnings. So let's say, for example, one of you guys come in and you stake 100,000 Leo on LeoDex, and then you use your referral link to go spread the word and get people to swap on LeoDex. I'll use that example again. Let's say that that Taskmaster refers in a bunch of different users, and collectively in a month those users swap $1 million on LeoDex. Easier to do than you might think. That's a matter of either getting one whale or like 10 orcas. Like, it's very doable. When you look at the other interfaces out there in the cross-chain space, I mean, there's hundreds of millions of dollars being swapped. So it might sound kind of large, but it's actually a lot more doable than you might think. Anyways, you refer in someone under the current referral reward structure, you would get 1/3 of the affiliate fees from all those referred users. So for $1 million, excuse me, the total affiliate fee would be $4,500 on that million. So you'd get $1,500 since you're getting 1/3 of it, and then LeoDex would get the other $3,000, and that $3,000 would get used for Leo buybacks. But for your portion, the $1,500, if you had 100,000 staked Leo, for example, and we had the tiers, what I'm thinking is maybe the upper range of that is that you actually get 2/3 of the affiliate fees because you have staked Leo. So your rewards are tiered. And the more Leo you have staked, the more of the affiliate fee that you get for the referred swap. The way I predict this working is that it kind of by proxy gives people Leo staking tiers, because I imagine a lot of people are actually going to refer themselves, which I'm not disincentivizing. This is something that happens on centralized exchanges quite a lot, which is that people just refer themselves. So I think it's it's just, we build the tools, and then how you guys use them is how you guys use them. So yeah, I think Leo staking tiers around the referral fee itself is kind of interesting. So that's most likely what we'll do.
Just scrolling through here to see, not a lot of questions, a lot of people mentioned it. By the way, here's one. LJATs or IJATs? LJATs or IJATs, what is it? Is it LJATs or is it IJATs? Please answer that for once and for all. LJATs asks, could one of the next strategic LeoDex moves be to integrate with Hyperliquid protocol?
Yeah, I'm only loosely familiar with Hyperliquid. I would say that LeoDex is primarily focused on dexes. So, and right now we've got Thorchain, Maya, and Chainflip. So, once we've got those all, perfected, then will we look at other stuff? Yeah. I mean, I'm open to look at other stuff. Like I said, I'm talking to the Kujira Index team. And then I have a meeting coming up with the Ruggiero team. So, there's there are so many things to do in this space, so we kind of have to pick and choose what makes the most sense in terms of, our mission statement, which is to make DEX feel like sex. So if we can add stuff that simply makes the user experience better, then I'm open to adding it.
Brando asks, is there a limit order feature already, or is that on the list?
I know Ruggiera is working on limit orders, so when they release that, we'll be able to add it. And I've talked to a few people about that, so I do think that that's in the kind of near horizon, probably 3 months or less is what I would guess. Don't hold me to that. See you later, SLG. Thanks for coming.
Well, SOG, she said no matter how small. I don't know if that's in reference to DEX and sex, but anyway, we'll leave that one aside for ego's sake. I don't see anything else on the DEX. Oh, by the way, I wanted to let you know, I don't know if you're aware, but Ask Rafiki has been taking about an hour to respond. So I don't know if there's a glitch in the matrix or what's going on, but you can't really have a conversation. If you ask it a question, it takes an hour to respond. You ask it back, and it takes another hour to respond. So you might want to have that looked into.
Yeah, we'll look into that today. So yeah, we'll look into that.
While we're on it, and Ahmed's not around, so we'll ask on his behalf, what is going on with Leo AI? And I don't know if maybe you want to go a little bit into Rafiki. Rafiki's an agent as opposed to Leo AI, which is more than an agent. So maybe you want to explain the difference between Rafiki and Leo AI and just give us an idea of where Leo AI stands.
Yeah. So Rafiki is an AI agent. Leo AI is its own, essentially its own AI model. So I would say define it as an agent versus a model. A model is a trained vector database that we train ourselves and we operate and we have infra costs and things like that. So it's very much a different thing than an agent. An agent is basically what you see like when you go to like ChatGPT, for example, and you interact with it. That is an AI chatbot, right? An agent is where you take it to the next level, where they have autonomy to go out and do different tasks for you. So Ask Rafiki is an agent that essentially interfaces with Venice AI and also is trained on LeoDex in order to answer questions. So the agent has a Hive account and it's able to answer your questions through it. And then when you ask it something, it's essentially just taking your prompt. So like when you go to ChatGPT, you enter a prompt and you ask it a question, right? But you have to go to ChatGPT and then you have to type out a prompt and then you hit send, and then you're interacting with a chatbot. With Ask Rafiki, you use the tag hashtag Ask Leo, and then Rafiki is like a watchtower. So this is where the agent begins. Is it's watching for that tag. As soon as it sees your tag, it reads what you posted in a thread, and then it takes your post and actually uses it as a prompt. So it takes your prompt and it takes it over to Venice AI, and it asks Venice, hey, what do you think about this? It also supplies Venice with the docs, with the LeoDex, as in case that context is needed. So then Venice has the context of the docs, and then it also has all the information that Venice just has on its own. And then Rafiki takes the answer that Venice spits out, and then it brings it to InLeo, and it posts it on threads. So it is an agent because it's literally just kind of skipping. You could do all of this on your own. You could go to Venice manually and enter your prompt and upload the LeoDex and say, hey, answer my question. But Rafiki's just doing all that for you and then posting it onto the Hive blockchain through InLeo. So the reason we built Rafiki and other and we have other agents as well is to feed Leo AI, because the reason why Leo AI is so delayed and what is taking so long is we don't have nearly enough data to make a great AI model. And I don't want to just release some subpar AI model. I want our AI model to be superior to what else is out there. So the longer we can train it on a bigger data set, the better it's going to be. So we've really just spent time refining it and teaching it how to teach itself on data that's posted on the Hive blockchain. So, Rafiki and other things that we build similar to it are really there to just bring data from other AI models and the internet at large and put it on the blockchain so that Ask Leo can then, or not Ask Leo, Leo AI can then pull that data and learn from it. So when you ask Rafiki a question, like I've seen Task, for example, ask Rafiki questions like, who is the Pope and what does he do? And then Rafiki is going to Venice AI, asking it that question, and then it's taking the output and bringing it to InLeo and posting it as a thread. Once that thread gets posted, it's on the blockchain, and then Leo AI is reading that content and learning from it. So now Leo AI has learned who is the Pope and what does he do. So, the more that you guys prompt Rafiki, the more that Leo AI learns, the more data that gets brought to Hive. We're going to be releasing a lot more AI agents throughout this year because I've realized that from a human standpoint, we don't have nearly enough humans to train Leo AI, in terms of social media data. So, we do have a good solid user base in terms of data, that we've got pouring in. But I think AI is where we kind of take the current user base and we add an exponential factor to it. So, if we have 1,000 humans, 1,000 humans are creating 1,000 humans worth of data each day. But if we have 1,000 humans and we have 1,000 AI agents, and those agents are interacting with the humans are interacting with the agents, and also the agents are interacting with the agents, you've got a lot of different layers of interaction that are creating data on InLeo. So it creates a lot more data for the vector space for Leo AI. And again, it's not like an addition factor. It's like when we have 1,000 users, if we add another 1,000 users, that's like 1,000 plus 1,000 users. But if we have 1,000 users and we add 1,000 agents, and those users and agents are interacting with each other at different levels, you create exponentially more data than just adding a new user. It's literally multiplication, not addition. So I hope that answered it well. If you want Leo AI faster, we really need more agents. We need more interaction on threads. And those interactions can be both with humans and with agents. And then you get kind of those variation mixes of things. The most ideal scenario is that you have humans creating a lot of content and also interacting with AI. And then AI is interacting with that content and then also interacting with other AIs. Because then you create the layers of interactions.
Yeah, and you explained it clearly. So basically, and I saw Zia asked, what's the difference between an agent and a model? And Cal just answered that. An AI agent is like a piece of software that's programmed to do something. And Rafiki, in this instance, as Cal explained it, is designed to take your thread when you prompt it with Ask Rafiki. It takes your thread, it delivers that thread, what you ask, to Venice AI as a prompt. It takes the answer from Venice AI and puts it into threads. So this is where it's an agent, and the model is Leo AI. And that's taking everything on the Hive blockchain, plus whatever data they may be feeding in there, like LeoDex and whatever else. And that's being trained to create Leo Chat. It's creating Chat GPT for Leo, essentially. It's creating Grok for Leo. It's creating its own model that has our data in it that we put on the Hive blockchain. So basically, and I think what the discouraging, but also the encouraging part of what you just said, Cal, is the delay in Leo AI is our own fault. You just simply, the model is not being fed enough data for it to be a legitimate model. So that means the community, as I've been saying for months, has to step up, has to engage, has to do more on chain to feed that content into Leo AI. And Rafiki can help. And every time you interact with Rafiki, it helps. But this is why when you try to get Rafiki, you ask it about your blog posts, it's not going to give you the answer. It doesn't know about the number of upvotes you place because it's asking Venice AI. Now, if Venice AI has the answer, fine. But the point being, Leo AI is going to answer all of this, and you want Leo Chat or whatever the hell it's going to be called to be out as quick as possible. Well, we need to give it the data. That it's just that simple.
Yeah, data, and you guys have seen this. Data is the new gold. When you look at the AI, essentially gold rush that's happening. Every AI, everyone who's training a model, they're all trying to hunt for data. So it's mining for data, and we're in a unique position because InLeo creates a lot of data. That being said, we need to create a lot more data. So the agents will help us do that, and it'll help us. What would be the ideal scenario is like we wake up tomorrow and we have 1 million users who are creating data, but seeing as that's probably not going to happen waking up tomorrow, what we can do in the meantime is have these agents help bring data as we also try to get new humans. So you're adding agents and you're adding humans simultaneously, which means that the data is going to grow exponentially, like I said. So yeah, bring more agents, bring more humans, have those humans interact with those agents, have those agents interact with each other as well, and you'll see an explosion of data, which, like I said, is an explosion of gold that's being created on InLeo.
Yeah, it's like what you're doing is you're the analogy typically is data is the new oil, and it's like, okay, how big do you want your oil find to be? And the more data we add to it, the more our oil well is, the bigger our oil well is, and the more it'll put out. So the idea and what he's talking about, we've talked about this on the Lion's Den for months. There's a big thing called synthetic data, and that's what these models kick out. And there's still dispute as to if training a model exclusively on synthetic data is a way to go, because you end up getting biases, you end up getting AI version of what's called slippage. It gets too narrow, it ends up narrowing things down because it's constantly training on the same data. And of course, human data is constantly being searched for online and being scraped, and it's getting more and more difficult to find. But the next layer is synthetic data with human interaction. And this is why, and if you notice, ChatGPT, I don't know if anybody caught the headlines, they finally said, you know what? We cannot deliver the AI services like we anticipated. So we're going back to being a nonprofit. We're ditching this for-profit idea. The reason being, ChatGPT doesn't have a social media platform. They cannot compete with Google. That's fed millions of videos a day. They cannot compete with X, which has hundreds of millions of users posting all kinds of stuff. And they can't compete with the Meta family of applications. Now, I'm not saying Leo competes with any of them, but the difference is Leo is creating a small language model. That's a big difference. We're not trying to create Grok or Llama or any of that. We're creating a small language model that's a fork of, I believe it's Llama, right, Cal? You use that as the base model?
The base model is Llama.
So you take Llama, you add our own data to it, and that trains it so that we have a small language model that incorporates everything on the Hive blockchain plus whatever else we put into it. And the point being, the next wave of data is the synthetic data interacted with by humans. So when you talk to Rafiki and you ask it a question and it gives you a response, that's good. You got synthetic data on the Hive blockchain. That'll be fed into Leo AI. But don't stop there. Reply to the response. Read it over and say, well, what does this mean? Elaborate more on this. Tell me what pick out something that you don't understand. And just keep interacting. And if you see a mistake, correct the mistake and say, well, wait a second, that's wrong. Your data is not up to date. And it's highly possible because I'm sure for model size, they went to Llama 2 or something like that because it's about 2-year-old data. which is okay. So put the new data in, get the new data update, and say, well, wait a second, the CEO of ABC company resigned in 2024, and now the new CEO is so and so. Update the database. And now that'll be fed into Leo AI. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, Leo AI is like the train moving in the background. It's there, it's moving forward. It's going to take some time, but the more we can load onto that train before it hits the destination, which would be the launch date, the better.
Yeah, it's like Andresinos asked, what other data source can we use? We have AI summaries with YouTube transcriptions. Andresino, there's another prime example. Taking the YouTube videos and dropping them in and using the summarize, that adds a lot of data from YouTube, essentially, because it's a YouTube transcript, and puts it on the Hive blockchain. Every summary of a YouTube video, every transcript that summarized ends up in Leo AI. So, like when Cal puts out a video, or somebody will grab the AMA today and we'll summarize it off the YouTube feed, that gets into Leo AI. So it all feeds into it, and that's the important point. Unfortunately, Rafiki's now very slow, but hopefully that'll be resolved.
Yeah, that'll get resolved hopefully in the next probably 24 hours, if I had to guess.
Are you taking any measures to prevent Rafiki from being downvoted? No, Rafiki's going to be downvoted to oblivion, but what effect does that have on? What effect does that have on anything, Lord Sash? So Rafiki's downvoted. The key is to get the data. The key is this data is feeding into something else, and the point being, Rafiki is, so it's not getting rewards. Okay, what's the difference? So Rafiki's putting data on the blockchain for free. I delegated a ton of resource credits, so it's got enough resource credits for a while. Makashima said, most humans don't care if they are interacting with an AI if the experience is good. Sometimes humans prefer to play with AI agents. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, I went through and I probably had some 30 thread engagements with Rafiki. I mean, it's pulling knowledgeable stuff. Will there be a post explaining the model behind Rafiki and Leo AI? Well, the model behind Leo AI is Llama, and Rafiki pulls from Venice AI.
Yeah, and you'll notice as we release more agents, we use different models because different models give different answers, right? So, if our goal here is data mining, then data mining from other AI models, then using more models is better because now we're mining from different models and getting different answers and getting different information. Self-help for trolls seems to be against using models to give data. I would remember that when an AI gives an answer, it's not training the Leo AI with the exact answer it gave. It's more giving it that data, because AIs aren't like humans. They don't learn. You give them a sentence, they're not learning from that sentence. They're learning in a very different way, in a very asymmetric way. So, for example, you give Leo AI information about how, like, let's say you give it stock market information on various stocks. Not only is it learning the actual information you gave it, it's using that context to learn other things. So if you give it a list of 100 stocks and you give it the PE ratio of those 100 stocks, you can now ask it, what is the average PE ratio of 100 stocks on the stock market? It can now give you it will calculate that out. So it's thinking for itself. It's kind of like when you train, if you put say, an aspiring artist through college, that artist is going to go through, you know, whatever, 4 years of education and go to different classes that give the you know, the person different training in different styles of art, right? When that person comes out of school, they can either completely copy the things that they learned, or they can take all the things that they learned and they can create a completely new style that is their own. AI is very good at creating its own new style from all the things it learned. So I would keep that in mind, that it's not just learning to regurgitate what it's being taught. It's actually taking all the information into a vector space, and then when you reprompt it, it's taking all those learnings and creating a new answer.
Yeah, and that's the key. It uses a vector database. So when you enter something into a vector database, what happens is there's a correlation between what's added and what's already known. And that correlation, the tentacles are in many, many different things. So when Cal just mentioned PE ratios of 100 stocks, well, now you're starting to talk about stocks, you're starting to talk about markets, you're starting to talk investing. Then you break down the 100 stocks, and there's tentacles to that where you may have CEOs for each of those companies. You got CFOs for each of those companies. You have earnings calls. You have this. You have that. You have all this other stuff that is already in the model, that's already trained, especially when you're taking Llama, that stuff's inherent and it already knows it, and you're adding your own data to it. That's just refining it even more. So this is where, you know, when people say, well, I'm going to lie to it and it'll just memorize, these are not input output. Input output is Excel spreadsheet. You put in 5 in a cell, you hit save, you go that back to that spreadsheet 1,000 times. It's always going to be 5 until you change it and save it again. That's input output. These things aren't input output. They are not direct in, direct out. It's like training somebody how to paint, then give them a canvas and the paint, and then they create their own paintings. Even though they were trained on Monet and Rembrandt and all this other stuff, they will create their own stuff. That's what generative AI does. And that's why it requires so much damn data.
Yep. Data is very important. So saw a couple questions coming on the YouTube about TCY and a fix for claims using Bitcoin and Rune with Ledger. Yeah, Charlie, we're still working on some of that stuff. So, you know, one of the next rollouts today, at some point today, will be the ability to manually input your ThorChain address where you want to receive the TCY that you're claiming. So that'll fix that Ledger issue where you can't connect with 2 different wallets. So we'll get that fixed, and then a couple other things. And we're also working on that TCY dashboard to help you track things better. So, so yeah, we'll get all of that up and running as soon as we can. A lot of those fixes are going to be today, and then the new TCY dashboard, hopefully sometime by like Friday, is what I'm pushing for. And then, like I said earlier, the referral system, hopefully live by today. I think, you know, LeoDex has gotten some momentum from the TCY launch, so I want to make sure that we capitalize on that momentum and keep rolling stuff out. And we've been working on a lot of stuff, so important that we get it out while people are paying attention to us. But yeah, I got to jump. Tass, I don't know if you have any closing thoughts before we get out of here.
Well, Lord Sash said it's hard to get notification from a negative reputation hive ID on InLeo, and that's true. So I don't know if maybe you could write a workaround or give that a exemption so that those notifications come through.
Yeah, we do pull that from the Hive API itself for notifications, and I don't see us developing, you know, new notifications API anytime soon. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I would just like manually watch for it, but maybe at some point we'll add something where Rafiki shows up as a different type of notification for you, and then obviously with the other AI agents, I assume Hivers are going to keep downvoting the agents that we build. So, you know, it is what it is.
Can we have a link to InLeo on LeoDex? Well, and also a link to LeoDex on InLeo.
There is a LeoDex button on InLeo.
Is there? Where?
And I think there also is an InLeo. It's under the More menu. Maybe we should put that higher. We'll probably put that higher.
Yeah, I would make it very obvious. I wouldn't hide it.
Yeah, we should probably do that.
So,
Cool. All
yeah,
right.
I think that's about it in the Threadcast.
Sweet. Yeah, thanks for co-hosting with me. Thanks everybody for coming. Good episode today. Like I said, LeoDex has been very popular over the last 24 hours. So we've been working hard to keep pushing things forward. And let's do a bunch of updates. Like I said, if you want Leo to succeed, the biggest thing you can do is go use LeoDex and get the feedback on it. Find bugs and tell us about them. The best way to do it is through Discord or through the hashtag feedback on Thread. So keep all that up and we'll keep making progress. A lot of really exciting things coming through. So bookmark the site, keep going back regularly. I think the referral system will be live today, and that's going to have a big impact. I think on just spreading the word and turning you guys. And my goal is to make the referral system really create like an army of brokers essentially who are selling LeoDex to the world. So as a team, we can only do so much marketing. We can only do so much word of mouth. But what I'm trying to do is create an environment where all the incentives are aligned so that everybody who uses LeoDex and wants Leo to succeed and holds the Leo token, becomes their own, broker, their own person that goes out and sells LeoDex to people. And the way we're going to do that is you guys get, a third of the revenue from everyone that you refer. So I think that's going to be very impactful for Leo. So, yeah, thanks, Charlie, for coming. We're going to keep pushing out updates. Thanks for saying that LeoDex UI looks solid. We've just been grinding away. We're the newest interface to the cross-chain space. So we have a lot of work to do to make the UI better, and I know that it's not always bug-free. So, we keep refining things, and really any feedback, if you DM me on X or you DM the LeoDex account on X or going to Discord, etc. Just report as many bugs as you find, and we'll fix them. So thank you, and thanks everybody for coming. Thanks, Cass, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for 10.
Ciao.